I have something important to say today about chronic pain. You come back after the intro, and I'll fill you in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't put up a video in quite a while. For those of you who know me at all, you've heard me talk about fibromyalgia. I try not to burden my viewers with the problems in my life. That's not what my channel's about. But I've had a lot of questions from people private messaging me, so I thought it was time that I at least once discuss just what goes on with fibromyalgia. And for those of you who think I'm just pulling your leg, feel free to Google the term fibromyalgia and read for yourself all the different things that'll come up. Fibromyalgia is now considered a disability by the Social Security Administration. When you have fibromyalgia, you usually have any number of about 24 other syndromes that go with it. That's how they label it. Generally, you have the kind of pain that is usually reserved for 60 and 70-year-olds with arthritis. You have shooting pain that will shoot through your right ankle, then it'll stop and move to your left knee, and then stop and move to your back of your neck. When you have fibromyalgia, it's usually caused by traumatic injury, usually being rear-ended in a car wreck, falling from a great distance and hitting hard surfaces, that kind of thing. Sudden wham, all across the body trauma. Years gone by, it was often misdiagnosed as whiplash, because you got all this pain right up in here in the back and neck. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying whiplash don't exist. I'm saying fibromyalgia was quite often lumped in with it. Like back in the 60s, I'm pretty sure that's where a lot of that comes from. You see, fibromyalgia is a fancy word for saying nerve damage. What it is the nerves in your body misfire. You could pick up a couple of gallons of milk, one in each hand. And if you've got fibromyalgia as bad as I do, all of a sudden the nerves in your back start to fire and say, pain, 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 pain. You've hurt yourself. When you didn't do anything except pick up a couple gallons of milk. And now Bev Wolfe, our half-acre homestead, does a far better job of explaining this than I do. Especially when I'm having an absolutely red-letter day. Now, I don't have the graphic that Bev has. I'll see if I can't scoff it from her channel to use. But for me, for the last month, I have been in the red zone. All day, every day. And even OxyContin isn't helping. The doctors have given me Oxy, 40 milligrams. And using it twice a day, it makes me a mind-numb zombie. I haven't taken any in 3 days because I've got an appointment today and I needed to be able to drive. And let's just put it this way. I could chew nails and spit rust. I'm in so much pain. Yeah. Well. So what Bev has on her channel when she does a fibromyalgia update, she has a scale Goes from 1 to 10 like a ruler, and below it's a bunch of faces. A smiley face on the left, all the way to a frowny face with tears on the right. Green on the left, candy apple red on the right. That's where I've been for a month or more. Candy apple red on the right. The best day I've had in the last 5 years as a result of fibromyalgia is about a 7 on the pain scale, which is just a kind of an orange frowny face. Yellow to orange in thereabouts. And that's, for me, for the last 30 years, that's a good day. I remember, prior to 1984, prior to being rear-ended by a 16-year-old girl who'd had her driver's license for 2 weeks, and her car insurance had already been terminated for non-payment, driving a 72 Chevy Capri station wagon, rear-ended my 77 Dodge Aspen. Full bore, 50 miles an hour or more in a 20-mile-an-hour zone. Yeah. The only damage to her car was it had cracked part of the grille and spidered the windshield where her mother's head hit the passenger side of the windshield. Bang. They both walked away from it basically unscathed, except her mother had a headache. Probably had a concussion, but at the scene I heard her say she just had a headache. Chevy Capri. Biggest land yacht Chevy had built to that date was a busted grille and a busted windshield. When my insurance agent contacted her insurance agent, because she had an insurance card, a temp card, her insurance agent said, sorry, she don't have insurance. She used a check to get a temp card so she could register her vehicle, and the check bounced to the moon. And she told her insurance agent, sorry, it got me what I wanted. It got me the ability to register my car. Period. She wasn't going to make good on the bounce check. She didn't ever plan to. So I and my insurance company were left holding the bag. And all they would pay me for was some medical bills. And there was no concrete diagnosis for me for over 20 years. It wasn't until 2004 that a rheumatologist was willing to say, yes, this man has fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis, and so on and so on and so on. Since then, I've had doctors ask me why I'm still on my pins. Well, one anyhow. Seems that people, when they have fibromyalgia as bad as I do, according to this doctor, within the first 10 years of having it, they commit suicide because the pain is so great. That's what he said. I don't know it to be true. Just, that's what he told me. So after 23 years of suffering from this crap, he's asking me what's keeping me on my pins. Well, it's now 32 years I've been suffering with it. And every time I see a new doctor and they hear fibromyalgia since 84, they're flabbergasted. Well, back in 2005, I took part in a study at a college for people who are chronic pain sufferers. And the first thing they did is they took a blood sample and tested it. And the results so flabbergasted the professor, the scientist, whatever he was, they took a second sample and retested it, thinking the first one got screwed up. And then they come back and tell me that they couldn't believe their results. They wanted to know what I was doing about pain. And so I explained it to them. Being Native American, only I prefer the term First Nations. There's a process called vision questing. I learned it many years ago as a child. Well, 8 years old if you want to call it a child. I've been using it for years for pain control, and apparently there's a scientific name for that. They call it biofeedback. And what this does is it increases your brain's activity to produce something called endorphins, the human body's own natural pain reliever. Yeah. Apparently my body's been producing endorphins at a level about, between 5 and 8 times normal. Which is one heck of a chunk. That is, if I understand what the scientist, professor, whatever he was saying. If I understand it correctly. 5 to 8 times the normal. And that's why I've been able to get by with just some over-the-counter pain meds for so long. Unfortunately, that's beginning to wear thin, and those OTCs just don't get it done anymore. So, this injury to my leg from a year ago, it kind of pushed everything over the edge. And now it's not just the leg that hurts, but everywhere hurts. Way, way worse than it should be. And it's one of the reasons why you're not going to see quite as much of me as you have up till now. Until the doctors figure out a way to help control the pain without making me a zombie. Because, like I say, that's the biggest reason why you haven't seen me. Because if I wasn't zombified by the meds, I was in too much pain to make videos. Now, as I was saying, there are a lot of syndromes that go with fibromyalgia. And some of these things are called, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome. So, a lot of you who've noticed I yawn a lot in my videos. That's part of it. As I said, it's now 9:44 in the morning. I just got up at 7 o'clock this morning. I was lazy. I slept in. I was out cold for almost 10 hours because of the meds that I haven't gotten out of my system yet. So there's no way I should be tired, but yet I feel exhausted. And now, yeah, that could partly be the meds, but that's the way it's been for, almost 30 years. Constantly tired. There's nothing that can be done about it. Some of the other things you get with fibromyalgia. Is extreme photosensitivity, migraine headaches, like I said, chronic pain. How do I describe the pain itself? Well, I'm sure most of you have seen those old Abbott and Costello movies. Well, if I remember correctly, there was one with I want to call it a witch doctor. He wasn't. He was voodoo. He was into voodoo, or she was into voodoo, whatever it was. And they kept sticking pins in this doll. First in the arm, then in the leg, then in the head, then in the back. And then they would show Abbott or Costello, I forget which one it was, crying. Yeah, it was Lou Costello, the short, chubby one, yelling about the pain. First it's in his leg, then it's in his arm, then it's in his back, then it's in his skull, then it's... That's the way it is with fibromyalgia. First it feels like you got a knife sticking through the side of your knee just below the joint. And then that stops, and then the pain starts up in your elbow or your shoulder or your neck. Now, because of the kind of injury that I sustained in the first place in 1984, most of the original trauma is to my back. So what I am also treated to is a bullseye of different kinds of pain in my back. And I'm sure you all know what a bullseye is. We're talking about like, a rifle target, about so, fit on your back. And the pain goes from, in the smallest ring, like 100 knives stabbing at you constantly. Works its way out, then it's like cigarette burns. In the next ring, all the way around. Then it goes out, and it changes from day to day and week to week. Sometimes it's not as bad, sometimes it's way worse. The outermost ring, it's like pins, straight pins jabbing you all around. It is not a pleasant thing. And for years, people used to tell me, it's all in your head. What's the fancy word for that? Psychosomatic? Well, then why does Social Security recognize it as a disability? Why is it in 1984, in 2004, why is it that a doctor told me that I was 100% disabled with zero hope of rehabilitation or gainful employment from that point on? That's what the rheumatologist said. Between my weight, my fibromyalgia, the rheumatoid arthritis, all the other syndromes, zero hope of rehabilitation or gainful employment. Well, whilst I'm currently unemployed since March, yes, I'm still unemployed. At least in a meaningful way, I'm unemployed. I pick up a few dollars here and a few dollars there, but I'm still basically unemployed. Well, see, where was I? Oh, yes. Aside from being unemployed since March, I've been making a liar out of that quack every day since. Well, almost since the very day. Because 2 weeks later, I went back to working in security for the coal industry in West Virginia. And I have been hard at work ever since, with only short stints of unemployment in the meantime. For instance, when the housing bubble hit in 2008. And then I lost my job because the company I worked for was downsizing because people were ending their contracts with a contract security guard company because they needed to conserve cash money. And so I lost my job because the company had no work for me to do. And because of that, I used my unemployment to fight off foreclosure, to try and hold on to my home in West Virginia. And 6 months later, the bank started foreclosure because I ran out of money. And I just couldn't keep up the payments. I don't blame the bank. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Or I should say, I don't blame that specific bank for following through on their policy in regards to foreclosure. The people I blame are politicians for having created the bubble in the first place. But I digress. That's not what this video is about. So from early January till August of 2008, I was unemployed. I had to move back to Connecticut because my mother-in-law was ailing and my wife needed to come back home so she could care for her mother. That's fine. So we came back to Connecticut. I knew I'd get work. All I have to do is walk in and say, job. And I worked there from August of 2008 until March. Unfortunately, it's not the place I remember from back in the 90s when I worked there before as a school bus driver. Then again, the old man that ran it back then, he's long since passed away, and his son's been running it. And his son has delegated everything out to other people and doesn't pay a whole lot of attention. But I'm not going to go any further into that because that is a pending legal issue. Suffice it to say, I will try and get up a video from time to time, but I know I've still got that series I was working on, the Follow Me Shopping Prepper Style. I haven't done a new video on that in a while because I just haven't had the gumption or the ability to get back out and do them. I believe you all recall that I did say in the intro to that when I first started it that I was getting out of the house just because I was getting sick of the cabin fever in spite of feeling like crap. Well, now I feel like 10 days of crap. So, that's all I've got for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to make up a video from time to time. I do have a couple in the can, just waiting for me to have the gumption to edit and put them up. One of them is going to be on one of the, I forget what brand it is. Oh, Alpine Air. A dessert from Alpine Air. I've got a video that's going to be coming up on that one. Already in the can, I just got to do the editing. And I've got a new political video. Already been shot, just needs edited. And I've got a video. It's already in the can, has been for a long time. About a 40-ounce stainless steel canteen that I'm making, or have made. Or should I say, it's a work in progress. I still have a couple steps left to do, but it's most of the way completed. Anyhow, I have enough of that one up, enough of that one shot that I can, if I can get it edited and get it up, you'll be able to follow along with the greatest of ease, and then I can just do the others, as the rest of it as an update later on. I've got a couple of videos that I want to shoot later today, if I can find enough energy to do them. If I've got the gumption after this appointment to go up to the park and shoot them, I will. I'm not sure I'll have that much energy after this appointment, but we'll see. So for now, Zembrato. Zembrato Smithing Woodcraft. Peace out. By the way, don't forget to